Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. This is Catherine coming to you from the rainy Pacific Northwest. All of our sun that we had all week last week has now gone away and disappeared on us. Just in time for our official stay-in-home orders. Now, it's been recommended up until this point, but now they're having to put their foot down. So, not that we've really left, but here we are at home, ready to go. For those of you that have been in quarantine or been on lockdown, my heart's with you. I'm thinking about you and praying for you daily. For those of you that still haven't had to reach that point, but you're still respecting the recommendations, I salute you. Keep it going. I know it's really difficult, especially as we're getting into the spring and nice weather and what are we gonna do? So anyway, I'm really glad you're here. I'm glad you're joining us for art. And today we are going to break a little bit out of our color theory and more into our color history as well as color psychology. So we're going to talk about the history behind paints and the emotions that different colors can bring into play. So we're going to breach those topics and get started. All right, let's get going. Alrighty folks, we are going way back to the prehistoric era. This is where we're going to take a look at a couple of cave painting examples. Now, paint wasn't what we know it as today. Paint was used with all natural earth pigments, such as charcoal, hematite, red ochre, yellow ochre, umber. It was made from burnt bones and white calcite. The binding agents for these earth pigments were blood, spit, urine, vegetable juice, and animal fat. Yeah, you heard that right. Tools they used at this time were things that they just found around, like feathers, sticks, animal fur, or animal hair. Sometimes they would even blow pigment through a hollow bone to create an airbrush effect. How cool is that? As time went on, we began to use things like eggs, wax, and resin instead of blood and urine to bind our paints. Binding your paints with eggs was commonly called tempera painting. Now, this was very well known and well used in the 12th and 13th centuries. This approach is believed to have really opened the pathway toward what we now know as oil painting, where people started to use walnut, linseed, and flaxseed oils. Oil painting was really the most common and most popular form of painting at that point, until the 19th century brought us things like watercolor, acrylics, and other synthetic pigments. Now that we know where your paints come from, we are going to explore the psychology behind your paints. Here I have our primary colors, our shade, and our tint. Let's get started. Red. What do you think of when you think of red? Well, red ignites passion, excitement, energy, courage, attention. Sometimes it's things like warning or to create a feeling of urgency. It's a very stimulating color. Next, we are going to create our orange. Now, orange is a color that is very optimistic, it's independent, it's adventurous, it's creative, and it's fun. Yellow often inspires feelings of enthusiasm. It represents opportunity, spontaneity, happiness, and positivity. We can see an example of this in this lovely painting called A Young Girl Reading by Jean-Henri Fragonard. This was done in 1776. And all she's doing here is reading, but you can't help but feel happy for her. She looks content. Then we're going to talk about our green. Green, because it's in plants and in nature, it often represents growth, safety, harmony. Sometimes it's things like reliability, balance, and even fertility. When I think of harmony and balance, I always think of this painting by Claude Monet. It's called The Garden and it was painted in 1899. Next up is blue. What does blue represent? Blue represents trust or wisdom. Sometimes it's joy or loyalty, responsibility, peace, and security. You will often see icons such as the Virgin Mary or even Jesus represented in blue. When I think of a painting that truly brings peace to me when I look at it, it's Starry Night. And just considering all of the blues throughout this picture, it really speaks to that idea of peace and rest, which is kind of ironic and sad at the same time because it was painted by Vincent van Gogh in 1889, actually while he was in an asylum, because he had struggled mentally and emotionally for so long. Now we're going to take a look at violet, or any purple really. Purples often represent wisdom, royalty, wealth, imagination, spirituality, sensitivity, and intuition. We see an example of someone claiming the royalty of Christ here in Martin Schongauer's Christ Carrying the Cross. This was painted between 1475 and 1480. Now you'll notice that Jesus is not represented in your typical dirty white garment. He is actually presented here in a very light purple. You'll see throughout history that colors are a very subtle way of representing what the artist is trying to depict. And here it's a very subtle way of acknowledging the royalty of Christ as he is carrying the cross. Now let's talk about black. Black is a color that represents power, control, fear. Sometimes it's discipline or even death and doom. It's a very dark color used throughout history. And then we come to our white. White is often for cleanliness, purity, light, and life. So these are your colors. Now you know about the different emotions that those colors represent. So as you're painting for the rest of this class, remember what these colors mean. But I want to hear from you. What do these colors mean to you? What are your favorites and why, and what do they make you feel? So today's class was a little bit short, so I'm going to add here a special assignment for our littles, our younger audience out there who's trying to figure out what to do for their assignment. What we're going to do is you're going to grab your paper and you are going to crinkle it up. See, you're going to ball it up and then spread it back out again and crinkle it again. We're going to get as much detail on this as possible. So you're going to stretch it back out. Now, what could we be making? We are going to create our very own cave-style paintings. So now that you have your texture, this is going to represent a rock. Okay, so you're going to spread the paper out as well as you can. Use your brush. We're going to go ahead and we're going to mix up our colors. Now, all of the earth pigments were in dark black charcoals, red umbers, yellow ochres. They're very dark, earthy tones of brown, red, and yellow. Sometimes we had green, but not often. Okay, so we're going to start by just giving this flowy line. Okay, that's going to be our horse's back. And now we're going to go and create its face. Okay, we're going to pull down to give its neck, his chest, his belly, and up his back leg. Okay, now we're going to give him his legs. We're going to make him moving and running. Oftentimes these cave paintings really had great movement in their animals. Okay, we're going to give him this leg here and right back here. All right, so now I'm going to give him his tail. Fill this in a little bit more. We're gonna make that tail flowing. His ears and a mane as he's running. Okay, so now with your black, you're going to add some yellow and some red. Blend it in really well. We're gonna look for a nice dark red toned brown. I'm going to fill it in. There we go. Now I'm going to put my brush down. I'm going to use my fingers. I want to get a little bit more texture in here. Add some red. Don't be afraid of finger paints. If you're not allowed to use your paints with your fingers, then don't. I leave that up to your parents. We're going to blend it down here. There we go. We're going to just make it all different. None of those paintings had a very clear, very smooth color. Now I'm going to add some hills and grasses. Some more color. There we go. Have it all the way around. And there you have it. There is your cave painting horse. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Hey, okay, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really glad that you came along. And by the way, that rock painting is not just for kids. Adults can do it too. I enjoy doing those. But, sorry, side note. Anyway, Thursday we're going to start talking about the masters, and we're going to look at art throughout history. I know we touched a little bit on it today, but I'm excited for Thursday. I look forward to it. And so the kids' assignment is on this video, and stay tuned. Hopefully I'll be able to get my internet working to allow a live feed or another video for the older audience. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.